just let me do that, didn't you? B flat D F, anybody? Okay. It's not important what I do or say, it's important to know what I'm thinking. Otherwise, you might get confused. Just to get us back home. One more time. I practiced this a long time last night, but apparently stage fright or... Okay, that was a lot of sophomore theory all at once. That's kind of sophomore theory. What else do you get in sophomore theory? Anybody? Anybody? Tell us another sophomore theory chord. Okay, you can do it. I'll do one for you. See if you can identify it. Well, let's see if I can remember it. Here we go. Common tone, fully diminished seventh chord. Anybody remember that one?
No.
You only hear it at about one period of music. We'll go over that another time. The last thing, and I think we have just not enough time to do that, is this analysis of a Bach chorale excerpt. Let's think a little bit about this. One, it's clearly not in keyboard style, because I have to reach a tenth to play the first chord. So, what key is it probably in? Yes. What? Ooh, look at that funky fermata at the end. Try to overlook that. I'll get that fixed before I put it to the secret Sakai site. What chord ends the piece? A B flat major. What do we call B flat major when we're talking about G minor?
A relative major.
Exactly right. Now, it appears to me that okay, let's look at the first fermata, which happens on the third beat of the second full measure. That's got an F sharp in that chord. It's continued through the measure there. So that would be a half cadence in the key of G minor. But the next chord seems to be in B flat major. I think we would just call that a phrase modulation, or sometimes people refer to that as a direct modulation. This being an excerpt, it probably goes back to G minor at some later point. So let's just think about the very first note. Could we agree that that's a one chord? Pretty good with that? The and of 4 there. Let's look at that chord. We've got a D, F sharp, A, and C. And that is what?
5/7 in first inversion. No, second inversion.
Second inversion. Now, what's the weird part about this chord? It doesn't resolve to a 1 chord, it resolves to a 1/6 chord. Does anybody know what that chord's called? It's called a passing 5-4-3 chord. Because it passes between 1 and 1/6. Now, what would you want to put on your papers there is, I think you label all of the eighths. I could, if there was only a way I could show you this. Maybe I'll write it on the board. The beautiful thing about Bach chorales is you have the micro and the macro. You have the overall harmony, but you also have the harmony within the beat. And that is what I am particularly interested in, is not like the overall Schenkerian theory of it, which is going to be 1-5-1, but what's happening within the beat itself. So here, I believe that note acts as a passing tone, but also as a chord. And what I would do there is write this kind of parenthetically, because what is more important there is maybe the non-harmonic tone of it. This would be what? That's right, a neighbor tone. And this would be a passing tone. Now, what is the most unusual thing to me about this chord is that the 7th of the 5-7 chord does not resolve down, does it? That's why this is a very special chord. It's called a passing 5-4-3 chord. Now, what is it related to is the passing 6-4 chord. We all remember the passing 6-4 chord. This is the one exception where the inversion of 5-7, the 4th scale degree, does not resolve down to the 3rd scale degree. We'll go over that more at a later time. Okay, so that all happens in the very first chord there. Now we get here, 1-6. What happens on the end of the beat? I think both C's are passing. Does that make sense? So we don't really have another chord there. That's not a chord. And then the B flat again is part of the chord. Now we have a 5 chord. Now remember our melodic minor scale happening in the bass. Those are passing to 1-6. No, I'm sorry. I said that wrong. I'll punish myself later for that. I will watch 15 minutes of Yes to the Dress with my wife as punishment. The end of 3 is back to 1, and then here is a very interesting chord. On the 4th beat, do you see how the G in the alto holds over there? What is that G at that point? That is correct. It is a suspension. And what do we add to that phrase? A suspension. Okay.
Is that a number? No.
Well, if we had a number, it would be 7-3. That makes no sense, does it? what makes sense as a suspension is a 7/6 or a 4/3. So what are the other words we need to use? Suspension over a change of base, because that's what happens, the base changes. It goes from a third inversion, second inversion chord to a first inversion chord. One, those are passing in neighbors to 1/6, passing to 5, so that's a half cadence. So really, where was the internal chord changes was on the fourth beat at the beginning of the piece and the fourth beat of the first measure. Those had internal chord changes, whereas the others were all non-harmonic chords. Okay? Was that too fast? I can play it slower. All right, now we have a direct modulation to B flat. That's not B flat. There. Have you sang the Star Spangled Banner yet for commencement?
Mm-hmm.
When was that?
The,
Fall?
yes.
I wasn't there, was I?
I
No.
don't think so.
You were just there for spring.
That was Jane. I think it's an abomination how they do the tech setup on there. No mic check, nothing. No
Yeah.
monitor.
Well, they usually do a mic check, but the guy who usually does it got fired those before, so they didn't have anybody come and do the mic check.
Did you have a mic check?
No.
Well, it
He
used to
usually
be,
does.
the old guy, he was there for years and years, and he always did a really good job. Anyway, Janie, she sang well, but
Couldn't hear.
Couldn't hear.
could they hear you?
Oh, yeah.
You don't really need a mic.
They didn't.
Well, I was just saying it in C, so.
She
Janie
did as
sings-
well.
I was just saying B flat.
No, she sang it in C, but they didn't turn her mic on.
The difference,
For the
the
first.
difference between the B flat and the C version is, or,
Well, the fact that we go to a high C versus a high B flat.
And she only went to a high C in the second, commencement, not the first. So-
did they do better on the second? I only went to the first.
Yeah, they turned on the mic. The second commencement.
You know that,
So
the
that was a step
first
up.
commencement went on for,
Ever. The second one was a lot shorter.
I could not believe it. Okay, here we go. What are we gonna call those passing tones there? Passing tones?
Yeah.
Now, what if it were a chord, what would it be? 3/6, no, no, what do you think? Could you spell a chord out of that, as in D, F, A, C?
Mm-hmm.
What chord would that be? 3/4/3? Yes, it would be. 3/4/3, but it's not really a 3/4/3 chord, those are passing chords. 3/4/3 is not really.
The and if.
Whenever you hear somebody mention a 3 chord, it's probably in a band piece. Well, as in. Otherwise, not so much. Now this is no longer 1, but 6. Passing. Okay, here's a good question. What is the E flat? That's a passing tone, isn't it? In the bass? Sounded like a suspension, but it wasn't suspended, was it? Passing tone.
What E flat?
I think that's just gonna be 2/7 there. What's unusual about this 2/7 chord? Do we know where we are? I know where I am. Do y'all know where you are?
Are you in the first measure of the second one?
Along the third beat of
Yeah.
the first measure of the second line. The C, B flat, C, E flat. What's different about that chord? As in, it doesn't have a G. Now, do we get the G?
Only
really changed notes there. So that's a very, it goes 2 to 5/7, 2/7 to 5/7. Now there's a 1 chord with what kind of suspension? Okay, if the bass didn't change, what would you call that suspension? Let's call it a 9/8 suspension. Okay. Now 9/8 and 2/1 are kind of synonymous, but 2/1 generally refers to the literal tenor to the bass. So that's not going to happen so much. But the bass changes, so it literally goes 9 to 6, doesn't it? Because it goes from a root position 1 chord to a first inversion 1 chord. And what's that chord? My favorite, actually. I don't know what that is though, do you? 2-6-5 to 2-7. 5, 1. What kind of cadence is that? Authentic is correct.
So,
What? But we need more words.
is it perfect authentic
Huh?
cadence? Perfect authentic cadence or imperfect?
One of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at the soprano. What does it do? Does it end on the tonic?
Yeah.
So
So it's imperfect.
it's a root position imperfect authentic cadence as opposed to an inverted imperfect authentic cadence. I don't really expect you to remember all this today. I just want you to know what's out there to be remembered. But I'll be happy to teach it to you sometime this summer. Are there any questions? I know we went through that pretty quickly. In terms of Bach chorales, that is not a very complicated one. We'll do a very complicated one, including all the ones with augmented 6 chords in it, which are exactly 4 augmented 6 chords in all of the 371 Bach chorales. You know, I had a whole segment on part writing errors in the Bach chorales, but the thing is, if Bach wrote it, it's not an error. So we call them irregularities. Let's discuss just for a minute what the 371 harmonized chorales were. Back in the day when Bach lived, actually for a while, there'd been the Protestant thing, you know, with Martin Luther, and what they wanted was to be able to talk to God directly as opposed to talking through a priest, as, you know, something different than the Catholicism. And what Martin Luther had done was took so many tunes, and what Martin Luther really loved about the Catholic Church was the music, which until the 1960s was the greatest traditional music in all of the Western world. Now we have guitar mouse, but and he thought the people ought to get to participate in this beautiful music. So he took all of these tunes, many of them were from the Catholic Church, but also they were from just regular people music, popular music, and he put words of the scripture to it, and then you would sing along. And what Bach did was harmonize them in so many amazing ways that for many, many years in Europe and America, this was how we taught tonal harmony, was through the 371 Bach chorales. chorales. And that is sort of my basis of music. We'll have a discussion about that at a later time. But the thing was, a lot of the music coming from the 15th and 16th century would have been modal. So when it got to the 18th century, they weren't really modal dudes, they were tonal dudes and dudettes. But so Bach wrote all these amazing chromatic harmonies to allow for the leading tones, but if you take the actual melodies, they're often quite modal. I think that's enough for today, don't you think? Did we go our extra 30 minutes? It seemed like we did. I'm sure it certainly felt like it. So we've already made up a half hour. I'm very proud of you. Again, thank you very much for taking my class. And I will email you stuff directly and also put it, be using your university email address. Do you have one? Okay. Until we figure out what's going on with Sakai. My friend on the volume actually is in charge of Sakai, so.
Maybe that's what happened.
Thank you again, and I am so excited to see you again tomorrow. I'm ready to start now. I want to just go now. I'm getting a little hoarse now. It's one thing about being a lifelong tuba player. You can make good hoarse sounds. And that's about it, really. There's no other good reason to be a lifelong tuba.
So for the text review, we're just planning on doing that on Tuesday?
No. We're gonna present it on Thursday, but so you don't get overwhelmed by doing everything for Thursday, Wednesday night, just sort of plan on doing that for Tuesday, but we won't present till Thursday.
Okay.
It's due Thursday. And we changed the syllabus to Thursday. Is that okay? Should we vote on it?
No, that sounds good.
Okay.
Do
And
we
then,
need to purchase any texts?
no,
Okay.
no purchasing.
Actually, no, just use this.
I think it'll give, you know, if we wait till Thursday, it'll give you a better chance to hear me talk a few more days. I will bring in all the textbooks tomorrow. If you think about it, and you still have your college theory book, you two anyway, you might wanna bring it in tomorrow, just, and you could use that as one of either your alternate text or,
Maybe just harmony, an earlier edition.
how about you, do you remember?
What I took, or what I used?
Yeah.
It's been a long time for me.
Did you sell it or did you?
No, I haven't, I still have it.
Well, the thing is, nobody ever remembers the title of their books because it's either like Harmony or Harmony.
And like draw the cover, I remember it so clearly.
All right, I know y'all are ready to leave. Bye-bye.
I was gonna show you on the site, this is under sites, like which is where it would show up under, there's nothing. So, like it
Well,
doesn't
I
have any
even
classes.
got I'll work it out or it won't work.
Yeah, I just wanted you to know what was wrong, because we can log in, it
Okay.
just doesn't show anything.
Something is amiss.